and welcome back. We're a little bit delayed this month with our next article because we did a 100-kilometre walk a couple of weekends ago. So we started off the month, or we started off the whole summer really, doing lots of training for it. I walked a marathon around London, which was really interesting, wasn't it? Very tough. But it was actually nothing compared to the actual day, or 2 days. But and then we've been recovering ever since. We'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone that donated. People really showed their generosity, and we've managed to raise over £1,200 for Mind, the mental health charity. So yes, we're really grateful for all of that. So this month's article is about the impact of migration on well-being for both the migrants and also for the native people of the country that they have migrated to. I'm going to start off with some data to give you a background on the topic. 257.7 million people worldwide were international migrants in 2017.
What's that as the global population, Jess?
3.4%, which actually means, on the contrary to what is presented in the media, that 96.6 people actually don't leave their home country and actually stay in their country.
What's the other one you got?
Another statistic.
Yeah. In 1997.
In 1997, 77 billion US dollars was sent back from the migrant back to their native country. And 15 years later, in 2012, that statistic was 529 billion, which is just a crazy increase.
There's a super big increase, and so that's kind of leads us on to the next section of the paper. In the next section of the paper, we talk about the benefits and the drawbacks of migration from the way that policymakers might look at it. So what Jess was just talking about is actually called remittances. It's the fancy word for sending money back home.
Ooh, fancy.
And yeah, so since over the last 20 years, it's just gone really, really fast up. And this has some benefits and some drawbacks for the countries that the migrants have left. So the people that say
for their native country.
No, so for their native country.
Okay.
Yeah. So the benefit is that the person that's gone to another country and is now sending back money to them, it's typically a stable source of funding. So it's quite, you expect it to come through. There's not that much volatility in it, and you know it's going to be there. The negative is that for the countries that have really high remittances, they tend to stagnate. They tend to become quite low growth countries because they can rely on the money being sent back to them. They don't tend to think about, well, what can we do to solve our issues? What can we do to become more innovative? We've got, our brother in Germany sending us our money back, so we don't need to do something like this. So that can be one of the drawbacks of migration for people from an income perspective. So in that section of the paper, we talk about the benefits and the drawbacks. We actually go into 5 different topics, but I just want to talk to you about one other, and that's the fiscal impact, so the impact of migrants on government spending and taxes, because this is something that we think doesn't get the correct media coverage at the moment. So there's been quite a few studies. There's one really influential one by the OECD, which is a big economic organisation that writes policy papers to try and influence the way that countries do things. And they found that the actual impact of migrants on government spending and taxes is firstly quite small, so they don't actually cost the government that much, and they actually find that it's positive. So more migrants spend more money, they pay more taxes than they actually cost the government. So they're actually a net gain to most countries, at least in Europe, from this study. So
is that things like using healthcare services less and
exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and typically they tend to help pension systems and stuff like this, because migrants that come in, they tend to be younger people, they're looking for a job, and for countries that have an ageing population, that they can be a huge strain on the government. Whereas if you bring in a lot more young people that are paying taxes, they can help fund the pension system. So they actually tend to be a benefit in this area.